Tic Talk, Tic Talk, Tic Talk, Talk.
A real Celtic talk show by real Celtic fans from the Carluke Shamrock Supporters Club on Hail, Hail Media.
Tic Talk, Tic Talk, Tic Talk, 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 Talk.
Hail, hail, and welcome to Tic Talk with the Carluke Shamrock Celtic Supporters Club. My name is Richard, and this special edition, outside broadcast episode of Tic Talk is being recorded on location on Saturday the 5th of October 2013. Special edition, you say? Yes, well, if this is the first time that you've come across the Tic Talk podcast on Hail Hail Media, let me explain that for the vast majority of time, what we normally do for our shows, it's a nice, relaxing panel talk show where we get groups of supporters of the Carluke Shamrock Club and we Tic Talk. We talk about all things Celtic, games before and after, hot topics, news, opinions, arguments and lots of biscuits. All good fun, all Celtic, and by all means dip into the archives on Hail Hail Media and listen to some of those shows. But from time to time we kind of break out of that prison and we go on the road and we try and do as many wee special podcasts, outside broadcasts that we can that might be of interest to the Celtic supporting family throughout the world. That can be dinner functions for the Kano Foundation, it can be question and answer sessions at different supporters clubs, meeting the mainstream media and giving them a grilling, all sorts of things. So what have we got today? Well, I have just power walked my way down to Carluke train station very early on a match day. Today of course is Celtic against Motherwell. And while the rest of the supporters club, these jammy sods like Vincent the host and BJ Mack, all these nefarious characters that TikTok listeners know of, they're still tucked up warmly in their beds, snoring soundly, just relaxing and taking their easy time before getting up and heading into the match today. So why are you up so early, Richard? I thought you couldn't get to the matches anymore with your family situation. Well, listener, I'm glad you asked that. Let me explain. I'm about to take a long train journey and then underground journey to go to an event in Govan Cross in Glasgow this morning. And Carluke train station, as Internet Bampots such as Scouse Timms and Willie Keane will know, is a vast, sprawling, overground metropolis transit hub providing essential services to all the major cities in Scotland. Okay, I might have pushed that a bit. Right, but why are you getting into Glasgow so early, Richard? Well, again, a good question, listener. Let me explain. There is going to be a political event for a candidate involved in a by-election in the Govan area in Glasgow. What's that got to do with Carluke? Well, directly, nothing. You know, we can't vote in that area, not connected with the political parties in that area or councils, etc. But what does connect us, and indeed many Celtic supporters these days, is the fact that this candidate is running on a campaign against the Offensive Behaviour Act. And of course the vast majority of Celtic supporters know all about that and know all about the FAC, the Fans Against Criminilisation. Indeed, that was one of the other special events that we recorded, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try and record all of the speeches and the content that's given today. I'll track down as many Internet Bampots as I can for some one-on-one chats as well. And we'll try and get the inside scoop and see what this candidate, a chap called Thomas Rannachan, see what his thoughts are on the bill, how it's affecting Celtic supporters and indeed football supporters all over Scotland. And hopefully you'll find it of interest. This is what we try and do. There's obviously Celtic supporters that listen to the Hail Hail Media podcasts all over the world, throughout the UK, America, Australia, everywhere, and they just can't get to these events. They read blogs, they read articles, they're trying to find out what's happening on the ground, and that's what we do. These TikTok intrepid journalists head out and try and record as much of that as we can, just to share the information and the content with you. So there you go, that's what lies ahead of me. And for this particular journey, I will be sitting down to a nice Celtic book. What book's that, you ask? Well, again, another cracking question, dear listener. The book I have is the upcoming authorised biography of Sean Fallon, written by a chap called Stephen Sullivan, and it's being published by Backpage Press. It's going to be out at the end of the month, and we're going to try and line up an interview with Stephen, the author, and talk about him, his book, Sean Fallon, and all the Celtic stories wrapped up in that. So keep your eyes peeled on hailhailmedia.com for that show as well. You're just spoiled, aren't you? You really are. You're totally spoiled. So what's this Hail Hail Media? Well, again, listener, let's wrap this up with another excellent question. Hail Hail Media is a Celtic family of podcasts. Loads of guys doing loads of different shows, live commentating of games, talk shows like ourselves, phone-in shows, all sorts of things. So if you've not heard about it, if you've just come across this by someone sharing it with you, then go to hailhailmedia.com and you'll get an idea of what kind of podcasts are out there for Celtic supporters. And on that front, there's two pieces of main news, I would say. The podfather of all the podcasts, the boss, the gaffer, the head honcho, Mr. Chris McGuigan. He runs a podcast called The Lost Boys, and he's been doing an incredible series of podcasts throughout the close season, which is essentially called the Celtic History series, where he's done a ton of material and interviews and guests and research and just fascinating stuff covering all of the decades from Celtic's birth over our incredible history. And he's got another show, another episode 10 coming up, more anticipated than the closing episode of Breaking Bad, more eagerly awaited than the season finale of The Walking Dead. This is episode 10, the decade covering the 1990s, and as you know, there was just a couple of things that might have happened in Celtic's history during that time. My goodness. So it's been a long gap while Chris has been putting this one together, so it's going to prove to be another cracker, so make sure that you tune in for that one. And secondly, the Homeboys. Who on earth are the Homeboys? They are the most nefarious skullduggery collection of characters in Hail Hail Media. These guys have been running a phone-in show for fans to vent their anger. It's hilarious stuff. They usually do it on Monday nights, which kind of gets juggled around from time to time. And this Monday night is no less than their 100th episode. Quite remarkable, absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to try and phone in to the guys' show on that night and wish them a happy birthday from Carluke Shamrock. So congratulations to the guys, and make sure you tune into their shows as well and hear what's going on. Right, I think that's quite enough. I'm shattered. I've had my bulletproof coffee this morning. I've power walked into the station. My bag's packed with the Sean Fallon book. iPhone's charged up, ready to record, ready to track down people at this event. Let's go for it. Aye, let's go for it. Aye, very good. Easy enough for you to say, Vinny and BJ Mac tucked up in your bed. I'm heading in here. It's ridiculous. See the lengths I go to for a show and these people. It's absolutely ridiculous. Where the hell's Govan Cross anyway? How the heck am I going to find Govan Cross? I need to get Google Maps out. It's ridiculous.
Tic Talk, Tic Talk, Tic Talk, 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 talk.
Axe the Ag. Support Thomas Rannachan next Thursday. Supporting your team is not a crime. The depression of cultural and political identity is. Tell the SNP they got it wrong. Vote Thomas Rannachan next Thursday.
Right, Tic Talk has arrived in the area known as Govan. We've came overground and underground by train for sunny Carluke, and here we are. I've got two characters next to me. We have
Stephen, the Parrot. The Parrot, yes.
Alan, Black Cat Glasgow.
Black Cat Glasgow, good Glasgow taxi man. So, chaps, we're in Govan. It's early doors. There's a football match on later. So, why are we here? And why are we in an area surrounded by politicians that you're not very familiar with dealing with that kind of scenario, are you, Parrot?
No, not at all. It's just to show a bit of support for Thomas as he petitions to get his MSPs up, just to get hopefully highlighting, even if he unfortunately doesn't get in, I highlight the Axe the Act campaign to get rid of the ridiculous SNP act that was put in, and it's been criminalising all football fans. I think it's apparent that today's the anniversary, the birthday of the great Jock Steinglass dresses, so he'd have been 91, and Jock said, like, without football fans, it's nothing, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think it's apparent. I mean, he was visionary in what he said, because they're just killing the game off. We're paying money to go and see the football team, and it's all fans doing it, and we're being victimised, and you know, we see things going on at other places. So just to show a bit of support, and hopefully a few folk turn up, and we just embarrass and highlight this, and hopefully the SNP will get their act together and abolish this act.
Exactly. And Alan, Act's the Act, as he said. Thomas Rannachan, parliamentaries, by-elections, surrounded with police. Why the hell? I mean, why are we even involved in this? Should this be happening for football supporters?
It should not be, because there's a law already in place. Without the Offensive Behaviour Act.
Trying to double check.
I was just checking it there, yeah.
It's so stupid, you've got to
I'm
double
the
check
same
your
as
names.
Stephen. I moan about it on Twitter. It's the time I came and showed some support, showed my face about the place, to say that I'm against this act, and I want to act because it affects me. Well, it's not affecting me yet, but it will affect me at one time in my life, so that's why I'm here.
You've seen it. How have you seen it kind of portrayed at games, home, away, whatever? What kind of nonsense are you seeing around about you?
You've seen people get picked up for stupid
why is there
things?
anger there? Because if there's an act goes through, big deal. You know, why does that affect you as a supporter? I'm playing dumb here, obviously. So
Well, it seems to be just football supporters that's getting affected. It's not affecting everyday people in the street.
Exactly.
It seems to be a crowd of football supporters, and they're getting picked on and criminalised for nothing at all. For singing about their homelands, some of them.
Yep.
So I don't see the point in it.
Yep. And your fellow supporters that are over in Australia watching the telly, over in America, just see Celtic through the internet and stuff, explain to them, where did it all come from? Why did this nonsense begin?
It all sprung up from a game, the old firm game called the Game of Shame, which had nothing to do with the crowd.
Aye.
It was the two managers.
Two managers just talking to each
But
other.
the crowd get victimised for this, for some reason. I don't know, just normal punter on the streets getting hassled for nothing at all, apart from following his team.
Exactly.
That's it, basically. That's it in a nutshell, as they say.
Sure. Aye, definitely.
Totally victimisation of football fans. That's all it is. It's an act, so giving police more power of arrest for nothing whatsoever.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple as that.
Parrot, can we see it going? Is it going to get chucked out?
I'd like to think so. I jumped on Celtic Dreams last night, and I said we look at approximately £2 million being spent on the focus unit. This is Stephen House's project, and we now look at over 65 Scottish police front desk being closed down, which is a bigger issue than football. You know, we're talking about local and regional peace of mind for folks sitting in their house thinking, well, why is my police station facility being closed down to supplement a ludicrous act? And as Alan says, what we're looking at, we see football fans are being heavily punished. We look at what goes on at darts, we look at what happens at boxing, heavy drinking, heavy drug taking, quite boisterous behaviour, and there's going on. But we're looking at our supporters' books on the road. How many times do we see Twitter every day? And it's not just Celtic fans, it's all football fans. Buses being pulled over. We look at the flashpoints incidents like the Kettling and the Green Brigade and other supporters last year. We look at what happened at St Mirren Park a few weeks ago, whereas a family club like Motherwell, as they portrayed themselves, there was groups of like teenage kids, and I think there's an apathy settling in that all football fans are getting together and realising it's, you know, we're being divided by this act, and the police and the SNP are quite happy for us all to be secular, but we've got to get together as a collective and just hopefully just equate this law and get it abolished.
Yeah, good man. And Alan, when you look back your time as a football supporter over the years, is there a reason for this act? Are the crowds gone bananas? Is there fighting in the street? Is there mass brawls? Was it ever required?
I've seen one mass brawl at football, and it was the 1980 Cup final.
Aye.
I don't think I was involved in it. Well, I fell off the fence, but I've not seen a fight at football ever since, apart from the odd scuffle which you get in most nightclubs, which you get in most places. So why it falls on football fans, I do not know. When you can go in a bus one day to a football game and you're searched, then go in the same bus to the same stadium the next day to a concert and you're not searched.
True.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
That you're being victimised by this act, which I think is totally disgusting.
That's a common denominator. It's the football part of it, isn't it?
The football, yes. It's just football supporters are all criminals according to this act. And as Stephen said, all supporters of all clubs are getting criminalised, not just Celtic fans. Although it seems to be most Celtic fans at the moment.
Aye, a big focus
apart from,
at least.
as you said about St Mirren last week.
Aye, with the Motherwell guys. Okay, well, I'll bring yous back in, I'll calm yous back down. bring you back into the Celtic world, because we are, after all, Tic Talk on Hill Hill Media. So, what about the Celtic the other night with the Champions League? What's your thoughts now that it's all calmed down?
I wasn't impressed with the living with the Barcelona. I don't get them. I really don't. I'd like to see myself maybe in the early 90s when we used to go to testimonial games down at Old Trafford, etc. It was a big day out because where we were at the time, football wise. But now we like to see ourselves as a European power. So you know, greatest respect to Barcelona. They were exceptional last year with the 1-2-5 mass, and they came to St Mary's. But at the end of the day, I'm not really worried about what a opposing team's players tweeting about playing back to Catalonia when he's got 3 points in the bag and we're walking up the road with nothing. So I'd rather be concentrate on the 90 minutes, and I stood at the end of the match and I applauded everybody as I always do. It doesn't matter who Celtic's playing, I'll applaud the football guys, but a very crafty move by the South American manager of Barcelona to take in the off 5 minutes to go, knowing it would get that effect, it would take the crowd down a level, and you know, and I can see a lot of folk maybe saying, oh yeah, we should clap him, he's a world class player. He's probably my favourite player at Barcelona, and that's one of the few, you know. So it's just one of the things. We'll wait and see. Hopefully we'll get through.
You hopeful for Ajax? Both games, home and away. Oh,
I'll plead the fifth.
You'll plead the fifth. Fair enough. Now, Thomas Rannachan is the man at the centre today. The man at the centre, in football terms, is Scott Brown. What's your thoughts on the incident?
Well, I think it was a bit silly what he done. And looking back on it, when I seen it the first time when I was at the game, it didn't look a sending off. But he's gave the referee the choice to do that. Yep. His silliness and his petulance. So he's not cost us the game, because anything could have happened. We could have scored through Charlie Mulgrew, and you'll see my picture on telly when he misses, by the way.
Ah, you're beauty.
And well, I thought we played quite well. I think actually we played better with the 10 men.
Right.
I do. And what Stephen says, I quite like the players tweeting about our team, because it gives us that global thing.
Right.
It gives us more spectre in the world, and more respect in the world. So this must be some place to go, this Celtic Park, if the Barcelona players are tweeting about this.
Aye.
So it gives us the how do you look at it?
Kind of brand, the awareness, that kind of stuff.
Global
recognition.
Aye. And I think it shows you how far we've come.
Aye.
That we're moaning we'll get beat by Barcelona with 10 men.
Aye, exactly.
And 10 years ago we'd probably get beat 3-0.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
So that's the way I look at it. I look at it as progress to me. And I think we're getting better and better all the time in Europe.
And you mentioned the word progress. What is lying ahead of us? The kind of remaining games in the Champions League.
I could see us beating Ajax at home.
Right.
I see Milan at home, and maybe draw away with Ajax.
Ah, right, really? Nice one.
Well, I hope so anyway. I think 7 points might see us do it. I'd be happy to get in the Europa League.
Right, and just go for that.
And go for that.
Another couple of games there at least.
I would prefer to stay in the Champions League, but
of course,
I'll take the Europa League. And maybe we'll beat Barcelona over there.
Aye.
A reversal last year.
Oh, come on, you're getting me excited now. Oh,
he's a plan. He's a plan.
You seen my back, Iniesta?
PLC's infiltrated Tic Talk.
Brilliant. Hey, thanks a lot, lads.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, 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 tock.
Right, Tic Talk has grabbed one of the greatest internet bampots in living memory. Here I set up for you. Our Paul, otherwise known on Twitter as
St. Sixtus.
There you go, St. Sixtus. Now, forget Twitter, let's talk blogs. Recently, you did a blog. Some would call it a tirade, some would call it a call to arms, some would call it shouting down from a podium.
A drunken rabble.
A drunken rabble. Well, I think we always assume that, to be honest with your Ryan's. If some nutter missed that, what were you doing? What were you saying? What was your philosophy behind it, and what were you trying to say to your fellow fans?
Well, the point I was trying to make was I was basically trying to shame people into remembering what like today in this campaign was all about. I think a lot of people have forgot that we all turned up at George Square to support our fellow supporters basically against this abomination, a piece of legislation that's criminalising football fans for holding flags the wrong way now. And I basically just wanted to shame people into remembering and coming out and supporting it, because if they don't, then what's next? what we're going to get taken away next.
Exactly.
Basically, that was.
And the George Square thing, you were impressed with that at the time, because obviously we had thousands of fans there. We were recording all the different speakers for Tic Talk and stuff. Everybody was congregating. We all had that momentum behind us. And the word fire, and you mentioned that obviously in your wee headline. You think that fire's maybe lessened a lot, almost went out, went down to embers?
Well, I think apathy is prevalent amongst a lot of people these days.
Right.
And people just forget about things, and I know
attention span thing, is that what it is?
No attention span. I don't know if it's attention span. I think it's more to do with people have got busy lives and all that, but
sure.
You've got to remember, if we don't stand up against this, they're trying to take things away from us that we take for granted. And to me, I'm not prepared to gear it up without a fight, and I think everybody should be the same. I mean, I know people who's been affected by this, friends and family and all that, have had their season ticket taken off them for nothing. You know what I mean? For absolutely nothing, because on the whims of some copper, and we need to stand up against that. It's not good enough.
What's your view in the club and all this?
I think the club's a disgrace.
Right.
I think the club's a disgrace in this, because they've said nothing. They've no back to fans at all, and I think that's. I don't think they back to fans in anything these days. People know my thoughts on the PLC board, but I think they should be doing more. When this bill came through, the club should have stood up against it in the first place, and they've just continued to do nothing. Right.
Their involvement with the Green Brigade, who have been caught up in this, really, in the foreground, if you like, almost the kind of, it's not just the Green Brigade, but the focus on them, if you like, and focus obviously is a word chosen very, very particularly there. How do you think they've kind of handled that, the closing down the section and then bringing them back in and so on? Just another bit of nonsense, or are we getting somewhere now?
Well, I'd like to think, I can't speak for the Green Brigade, I can only see, obviously I've got mates in there and all that, but as far as I'm concerned, they've lied to the Green Brigade on so many issues, so many times, and I trust them implicitly. I know for a fact that they don't tell me lies when they're telling me the stories. They need to. Right. And I think people that don't trust what these boys are saying, they're only normal supporters like me and you. Right. They just want to go and support Celtic. Alright, you might not like what they sing, you might not like the Pyro, you might not like whatever, but for God's sake, man, give them a break. You know what I mean? Fair. The club, I think, well, we've all heard the stories about what Peter Lawwell said about them, about enough rope to hang themselves and all that. Now, I know for a fact that's true. I don't care what any other person says, I know for a fact it's true. And if you don't believe it, then mere fool you, as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
Let's get you back to the act itself. Are we going to get shot of it? You think it's going to get diluted, changed, abolished? What's your kind of hopes and your realistic thoughts on it?
Well, I would like to think so. I think the SNP would pull it if they could, but Alex Salmond doesn't want to lose face.
Right.
Obviously, I think that's made an issue, because the Act itself hasn't worked.
Yes.
It's not worked at all. They're spending 1.8 million in coppers that could be better used anywhere else. And they've got 9 pros below me at Celtic Park every week filming people. So, I mean, easy money. They're probably in double time every time they're on. Easy money, you know what I mean? And we're paying for it.
Correct.
So I think, and as well, these Focus guys, they were at Ibrox last week having tea and biscuits.
You have time, funnily enough, they're tucked away.
So it's a shambles. The whole thing is a shambles. And the sooner they look at it and get it repealed, the better. And it's only way forward. There's no way they can get away with it, because they're starting to get convictions now, and the more people they start getting convictions, the louder we're going to get.
Right, okay, and you're seeing it wider in the Celtic family as well. You're hearing the stories with the Motherwell boys,
of course,
the Mirren and so on.
I mean, the Motherwell fans getting kettled at St Mirren Park the other week. I mean, the Polish going in and kettling fans in a stadium. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous.
Now you're saying kettling. I mean, surely it's just, what is it, box cordoning? Recently.
Is that the terminology? Aye.
They didn't even want to use the word kettling.
At least they never drew their battens, as far as I know. That's a step forward.
Aye, we could be getting there soon enough, mind you.
Aye, well, that's the thing. That's why we need to stand up against these things, because it's only going to get worse if we don't.
Aye, correct. Now,
they've got to justify the money that's getting spent on them.
Yep.
And that's what they will try and justify it by doing things like that.
To get the numbers up, get the stats, then go back and ask for more budgets the next time and stuff. Right, okay. Let me try and calm you down. I'll bring you into the Celtic world. Right, we've got Motherwell a day. What's your thoughts? What are you expecting?
Well, I expect a win, obviously. Always expect a win.
Obviously.
I'll be clapping James McFadden when he gets substituted.
Is he going to play? Because a lot of talk about him not being fit enough.
That was a wee joke there,
No, fair enough. That's all right, yeah. Good, man. Thank God. You've got to check with you.
No, I think we played well the other night, and I expect more the same today.
Right.
I think maybe Brown made a mistake. We get punished for it, but I didn't think we were that troubled. So I'd expect more the same today, and hopefully a couple of goals. And my man Stokesy batter them in.
Oh, big Stokesy, you was cheering him on. Okay. Were you glad to get picked for a Barca game?
Oh,
Should
definitely.
You have got that?
Aye, he
How
deserved
do you
his
think
chance.
he did it?
He's no, I don't know, it's a hard man.
If I use the phrase "not in his position," which came up on TikTok the last show there, a lot of guys were like, "Well, he got picked, which is fair enough, but he shouldn't have been there, or should have been in that particular game." You get the same feelings.
Aye, in hindsight, maybe it wasn't the best idea, but you had to play him. I mean, Samaras playing up front to Sale, I think was I think Neil Lennongate's tactics pretty much spot on. I mean, obviously the second half changed the game. And even at that, we could have scored after that, but
Charlie.
Aye, but I mean,
Forrest.
But I've not really got any complaints about the team the other night. I think he pretty much got his tactics spot on.
Especially who we were facing.
Aye.
Got to keep that in mind, haven't
I mean, we kept obviously they had a lot of the balls you would expect.
Yep.
But it was all in the middle third of the park, well, coming into the final third, but they never troubled us for long periods, I didn't think. But still get beat.
That's a good way to wrap that one. And the big ones that are coming up, Ajax, obviously. You're a guy who's been to more Celtic games than the Thomas Cook representative. Are you going over there as well?
No, I'm afraid not. I've got a wife in Wayne that's not allowed me.
It's all collapsing.
So anywhere else I probably would have away with it, but no, Amsterdam. So no, I'm
what's your hopes? Home and away, can we do it?
Definitely.
Wins,
definitely. I've watched Ajax a couple of times since the draw's been made.
Right.
And they're no great shakes. I've got nothing to fear for them. Nothing to fear for them at all. Especially in a Champions League night, because we always raise our game. I know that's maybe no correct. We should be raising our game every week, but
tell Morton that.
Aye, exactly. But I've got no fears. There's no reason why we can't take full points for 2 games. We've got to be confident.
Aye, and Milan, from what you've seen for the first game?
Milan's going to be dangerous. Milan's always going to be dangerous. But again, at Celtic Park, we can beat anybody. We've proved that time and time again.
Aye.
And we're all just going to go there and do what we normally do and carry the boys home.
Excellent. You see, now look, you're calm, you're optimistic. You see what I've done to you? I've calmed you right down.
I know, I'm waiting to light a bit of pyro right.
Cheers, man.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, 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 tock.
Now, Tic Talk has tracked down the one and only Jeanette Findlay. Here we are again in Glasgow. Last time we saw you was in George Square.
Yep.
We recorded you speaking at the FAC rally.
That's right,
and this time, here we are again. Some more loud voices, more loud speakers. But this time it involves a chap called Thomas Rannachan.
That's right.
So explain, Celtic fans listening around the world, why are we here in Govan and who is this man, Thomas Rannachan?
Right. The FAC campaign, as you know, is opposed to the Offensive Behaviour Football Act, and we've done a variety of things. As you say, we did the big rally in George Square, fantastic turnout.
Yes.
Really, I think showed people that this act it doesn't work. We're opposed to it. We're going to fight it. We're going to keep on fighting it, and we're going to fight it in a variety of ways.
Right.
And we've done that in a whole range of ways: public demonstrations, public meetings, emailing MSPs, turning up at Holyrood. We've done a whole load of things. I think we're a model of a political campaign, to be quite honest. I think we're learning as we go along, but I think we're getting pretty good at it. Anyway, we'd always said that one of the things that really influences the way politicians think is if it really starts to hit their votes. That's what really annoys them.
Right.
So we'd always had it in the back of our mind that somewhere along we might actually stand a candidate somewhere.
Right.
Ideally that would be a parliamentary seat, a Scottish Parliament seat, and there are quite a few SNP MSPs who have very small majorities.
Yes, right.
And they're ripe for us. And this is to say to them, you keep criminalising us, you keep harassing us, and we're going to be outside your surgeries, we're going to be at your polling stations, we're going to go wherever you are until you abolish this act and start to leave football fans alone and deal with the real crimes that are out there. If you want to deal with sectarianism and bigotry, I'm all for it.
Yep.
But don't be attacking football fans for stuff that wouldn't be a crime. I could sing a song standing here that would not be a crime.
Right.
That if I sung it at Celtic Park it would be.
That kind of madness.
That just can't be right. right.
You're not going to sing, are you? Should I record you singing? No.
I might actually.
You might
But
wrap up with that.
I'll finish my rant first, and then I might have a wee song.
Right, so that's
Anyway,
the kind of ludicrous example.
so-
you can do that here, but you
That's
can't
right.
do it at a stadium.
So what happened was, there is, unfortunately, due to the death of a local councillor,
Right.
a by-election in Govan. It's a council by-election. We thought, well, here's an opportunity. Now, you know the governing party is the SNP. Govan is a very iconic area for them, and we thought, right, fine, we'll just come to your backyard,
Right.
and we'll come. Now, I don't think they've got much chance of being elected here, as I now understand it. But anyway, so we came here, and that's our position. We've came here to talk to the people of Govan, because young people in Govan, as in other parts of Glasgow and other parts of Scotland, are being criminalised by this act. It's hard enough to get jobs without ending up with a criminal record as well. So we've come to this area to stand a candidate. Thomas Rannachan is a supporter of the FACT campaign. He's somebody who, he has ideas on a whole load of other social issues because of his work. He would, in actual fact, he would be a very decent councillor.
Right.
I think
Just
for people.
this aside. Right,
The
okay.
reality is the likelihood of him being elected is minimal.
Right.
So in that sense, and we did actually seriously think about that, because we are serious people. We don't want to interfere in the democratic process, in the sense that we understand that people in Govan have a need for a good councillor because they have lots of different political needs.
Yes.
So we asked around as best as we could, who's going to win this election if we don't do anything? And we were given an answer. Who's going to win this election if we do something? And we were given the same answer. We took the view that we're not really going to influence how people in Govan are being represented unless there's a massive swing towards us. But we're not going to. But what we are going to do, we're going to have the opportunity to come out here to talk to people. We've put out 10,000 leaflets in this area. We've explained to people what the problem with the Act is, and there's still a lot of ignorance about the Act. There's still a lot of people who are completely ignorant about what's happening. Football fans in general will know this.
Sure.
People who don't go to football have not a clue. They think it's something to stop bigots.
Right.
It quite clearly is not, and never was intended to be that. The Act doesn't even mention the word sectarianism. So Thomas is somebody who agreed to stand.
Right.
At one point when we said, well, who would stand? And everybody started ducking under the table and said, somebody said to me, and I said, I wouldn't stand just in case I did get elected. But anyway, Thomas was somebody who was willing to stand to make this case, to put his name in the line and stand up there and make this case. And if he did get elected, I have no doubt that people of Govan would have a good, hard-working, decent councillor.
Right.
If he did get elected. So we're learning as we go along here.
Right.
And I think one of the things we learned, for instance, is that unless you're a registered party, you can't put your slogan on the election
really?
the ballot paper.
Right.
So he will simply be there, Thomas Rannachan,
Just the name.
independent.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
By the time the next parliamentary by-election, we will have a party. We've already got everything ready to register
super.
with the Electoral Commission, and we will have a party.
Right.
We've learned a lot about campaigning, we've learned a lot about how we go about things, and come the next Holyrood by-election, we will have a party standing, and we will target the SNP minority seats, the seats with like a tiny, sorry, I don't mean minority, but ones with a tiny majority.
Yes,
Maybe sometimes even only a couple of hundred, and we'll be there. So they need to know that we are not going away. The thing I really don't understand about them, this is what I don't understand. They must know by now this isn't working.
Surely.
It's nothing but hassle to them. And what level of arrogance and inability to admit you're wrong is invested in the leadership of that party and that government, that they're unable to say, actually, do you know what, we got this wrong. Let's just look at something else. I'm more than happy for any government to say where there's racism, where there's bigotry, and people are sort of, treated badly because of their gender, their sexuality, their race, their religion, that the state should do something about that.
Yep.
More than happy. But they have to be very, very careful when they start to interfere and try to, criminalise your thoughts, criminalise your political beliefs, criminalise people in the context of a football match, which is not a crime anywhere else.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, that's just no right.
So why do you think it happened?
did they just, was the leadership just grabbing it as a useful hot potato at the time that,
Why did it come
politicians do?
I think
so topical? Or was it a premeditated thing?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It would have been better thought if it had been.
Just so rushed through.
My take on it is, and I suppose it would have to take somebody inside that government to actually spill the beans later on and tell us what it was. My take on it was, about 3 weeks before there was an election. About 3 weeks before, what would this be? Now I'm losing track of time. 2011.
Bonkers.
And a previous First Minister, a Labour First Minister, had a pop at Alex Salmond and said, we were combat sectarianism and you dropped a bat and you just didn't do anything about it.
Right.
Then you had a game of football between Celtic and another team that doesn't exist now.
Aye, this Glasgow derby I've heard about.
Yeah.
Aye.
And it was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yep.
I think there was in the crowd of say 60-odd thousand, there was maybe 14 arrests. Some of them were for smoking in the toilets. Some of them were for, I don't know. There was no violence, no anything. None of them were for sectarianism or bigotry or anything else. There was nothing.
Yep.
And there was some things going on the part with badly behaved, overpaid football players. So, on the back of that, they rushed through a summit. Now, originally, people thought it was Alex Salmond that had called that summit and he was looking for some way to say, oh no, here I am. I'm doing something about sectarianism.
Right.
I think as it turned the story out, and I can't be sure about this, is it was in actual fact it was Stephen House, the then Chief Constable of Strathclyde Police, who actually asked for this meeting to go ahead, and it was him that pushed it forward. He is a very, very dangerous, very, I think, quite sinister sort of a guy, and I say that, and I don't say that in a completely, unthinking way. He is a very sinister sort of a guy. He was looking at budget cuts to his own force at the time.
Yep.
He was looking at positioning himself to be the Chief Constable of Scotland, because they were going to bring in a new Scottish-wide police force, the Police Service of Scotland.
Yep.
Which he did. He is now the Chief Constable of that.
Funny.
And like any police force in the world, if they can get hold of more funds,
Yep.
if they can get hold of more laws that they can then use, like any police force in the world. My mother calls the police force a necessary evil. That's what they are. They're a necessary. Where would we be if we didn't have police officers? Very happy to support the police when they're arresting criminals and protecting law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
I am not happy to protect the police or support the police when they are criminalising young people for singing a song or wearing a t-shirt or holding a banner. I'm simply not prepared to put up with that. And if people, no football fans, if people outside of that, in the general population, haven't they worked out by now how dangerous this act is in terms of how it criminalises people and how quickly that same arguments and the same type of law can be then extended to the things that they do, and the power that this man is accruing to himself. I'm not even sure who monitors the Police Service of Scotland? I understand there's a Scottish Police Authority who are in complete battle with him because they don't like him and they can't work with him. So we've now got this really quite sinister thing. We have police officers, senior police officers, responding to parliamentary questions, to questions for MSPs, to questions for members of the public in the most dismissive way. They don't even bother to make up good lies anymore. They hold us in so much contempt, they have so much power, they're quite happy to just say anything and laugh at you because they don't care what you think. Right. And it started with us, and it'll be some other group next. Yep. And I'm telling you, if people don't wake up to the dangers of this act, they're going to, some way down the line, suddenly go, what has happened here and why was this allowed to happen?
So the Thomas is thin edge of the wedge is really
absolutely,
there.
Absolutely.
Like that.
I'll give you two examples. There was some type of an exhibition went on at Ibrox a few weeks ago, and there was members of the armed forces who behaved in a thoroughly disreputable way on the pitch at Ibrox.
Yep.
An MSP asked the focus group, which is the special unit just for attacking football fans, had they heard what went on. Do you know what they said? They said they were having their tea break at half-time. I'm a trade unionist. I'm in favour of people having tea breaks and breaks for their work, but they'd only been on duty for probably an hour by that point, or maybe an hour and a half. And they didn't hear any of this. They didn't hear any of this, and they were being debriefed. Now, I'm told they don't get debriefed at half-time. They get debriefed sometimes later that night, maybe the next day. So they're debriefed at half-time. Now, that's how much they don't care what you think. Let me tell you another example. FAC was going through Holyrood to lobby our MSPs as citizens, as we have a democratic right to do. And as we were waiting for our bus at George Square, 2 police officers approached us and said, you're going straight to Holyrood, we'll be waiting for you when you come back. So we asked, why was that? We didn't know if they were going to be bringing us sandwiches or something. I don't know what it was they were going to be doing. We asked, and MSPs asked, why did that happen? Do you know what they said? They always do that. If they see a group in George Square, they go up and ask them how they're getting on and where they're going. What a load. Do they even think we believe that? What a load of nonsense. Now, that's the way the Scottish-wide police force is behaving. I have concerns about that, and I'm surprised that more people don't.
With that, as you say, a lot of it probably comes from ignorance. They just don't know these things.
Well, they don't, and that's why we're out here. And that's why people like Thomas standing here, putting his name on the line. We as campaigners are out here, and actually, if you look at it, I'm sure you'll be quite happy to say that we're the biggest presence here.
Yes, you see all these other big, quote-unquote, big parties. Definitely.
Because, see, at the end of the day, if I'm speaking now to anybody that's voting in Govan, if your normal party of choice is Labour or SNP or whatever it might be, if you put Thomas Rannachan first on the ballot paper, give him your first preference vote and give your normal party, who you normally like to support, your second preference. When we drop out, which we will,
sure,
they will get the vote. So you will be able to, at the same time, support this campaign against this act and still support the party that you want to support. So I'm calling on all Govan voters to do that if they will.
Perfect. And outside that picture, the other fans that are listening in just now, what can we do with regards to FAC, with regards to helping, with regards to keeping up to date with information? What's the things we should be following?
Well, I would say we've got a great turnout here the day, but I have to say it was hard work pulling people out.
Sure.
People need to realise that it can't be left to the few.
Yep.
Can't be left to Thomas Rannachan, can't be left to Jeanette Findlay, it can't be left to Mary McCall. It's got to be us coming together, and not just Celtic fans.
No, exactly.
Not just Celtic
That's
fans.
Right.
With Motherwell fans treated in the most appalling fashion a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Now, we want the young people and the supporters of that, not necessarily young because I'm not young myself, but we want the football fans to come and say to us, Fans Against Criminilisation was put together by Celtic organisations, but we never intended to exclude anybody else. So if there are supporters of other football clubs who want to come, who want to help out, get in touch. We're easy to find, and let's plan things together. But it doesn't end here, and it won't end. It won't end until this act is abolished.
Perfect. So what's the best places? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Where should
anywhere you like? Anywhere you like. We've got an email address. Just look, the FAC email address, or any of the constituent organisations. But FAC's got an email address. FAC's got a Twitter account. Just get in touch with us. There's phone numbers there. I don't think it would be that difficult. A quick Google search will find you somebody to get in touch with. Get in touch with Thomas. Get in touch with. There's a campaign email address. Get in touch with me. We're not that hard to find. Short of being electronically tagged, I think we're fairly easy to find. We may well be electronically tagged, I don't know.
NSA could be watching us right now. Well, thanks a million, Jeanette. So let's finish with that song. I'm only kidding, you're alright.
Ready to go there?
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, 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 tock.
Right, now Tic Talk is here. We've made it overground and underground by train from South Lanarkshire through to the Big Smoke, as we call it. And the man in question, the celebrity in front of us, Mr. Thomas Rannachan. Hello, sir.
How you doing? You alright? Pleased to meet you.
Very well, yes. So we're here in Govan early morning. A guy from Carluke. Why is he here? Let's kind of paint the picture. First of all, yourself. The listeners, I'm not looking at a 65-year-old politician that has been in Westminster all these days. I've got a young guy in front of me here, and he's involved in this by-election. Is that the place to do it?
By-election,
Surrounded with other political parties. What's your story? What's kind of brought you through, and why are you here as a candidate?
Yeah, I'm a football fan, first and foremost. I'm a football fan. And we all know I'm standing against offensive behaviour at football, Threatening Communications Act, to give it its full title. We'll call it the Football Bill. I'm standing against that, firstly because I am a fan, as I've said. I've got children who are fans, but I also believe that you have a right to freedom of speech, I suppose. I know that might sound a bit kind of, deep, or it's coined and thrown about, the right to freedom of speech. If you want to express your identity, your heritage, your culture, you simply don't want to forget where you come from, or your family's come from. That's why I'm doing this here. I work a lot with youth. A lot of young guys try to get into the whether it's into recruitment, education, training, whatever. And majority of these younger guys are the ones that are getting caught up in this bill. Right. So it makes our job so much harder. If you're a Scottish Government and recruitment is a big thing, employment's a big thing, don't make it harder on the guy. You want to boost your figures, stop giving them a criminal charge then,
Right. And that's a charge, does that stick? Is this something that stays in people's records?
Well, the good thing at the moment, obviously a charge is a charge. Right. It still has to be convicted. The good thing at the moment is that, as many professionals, and some of the best legal minds in the country have said, the law's not worth the paper it's written on, so it's getting thrown out. That's a good thing. Right. But I mean, even it can take maybe, I don't know how many months, a year before it comes to court or it gets thrown out. Right. That's a lot of worry for individuals, for families.
Is that something you've seen personally?
Yeah. Personally, yeah. I'll often I help youth 16 to 24 year olds with a variety of issues. Right. But if a common one will be recruitment, I'll always ask them, what's your barrier to employment and what's kind of not been working for you at the moment? And guys saying, I've been charged. I was at the match last night, I was at the match last month, I've got this charge, and so where do I go from there? It's the same as like using a CV. I found out an application form when the guy's got a criminal record. It's difficult, it's not insurmountable, but it is difficult. But when it's a younger boy, 16, 17, the head just goes down, because they've either got it or got the charge. And it's devastating for the families as well. But again, it's not, and I'm saying 16 to 24, that's maybe where I was coming from initially, but it's like guys my age, guys older than me, women older than me, that can lose their job as a result of that. Exactly. Who pays their bills? The Scottish Government are not going to pay their mortgage and whatnot. Aye. So it's for reasons like that I'm here today, that I've been fighting this, since it came in, basically.
You also we've seen a lot of the stories where, okay, you can have a charge, you can have your day in court, etc. But there seems to be a kind of, they almost know how thin on the ice they are, and they're not really going to get a conviction. So what they do is they play about, and they have guys coming up and down the country, having to travel up to a Dundee court, for example, months later, then again, and they have to come back, and they're just kind of toying with them, messing about them at their work. If they're at work already, it's hanging over them, hanging over their families. It's just this horrible game that's getting played with their lives.
Well, that is it. That's exactly it. And it seems to be their massage. It seems to be the Scottish Government, the authorities are massaging things. They say they're spreading it all over the place, whatever the way they can, to whatever they feel they can get some sort of conviction out of it. But like you say, that has devastating effects for people's, they're travelling up to Dundee to, up to Inverness was a recent one and stuff like that. I mean, come on, that's just, not that all Celtic fans, obviously it's football fans in general, but the ones I've spoken with are mostly Celtic fans. Right. They don't all come from Glasgow, predominantly do. And so it's those ones, as I say, travelling up to Inverness and whatnot. How do you explain that to your employer and things?
Exactly. What do you need a day off for?
Exactly.
Where are you going?
That's the thing, or a lot of, just spoke with guys as well who are self-employed. So that's hitting them directly in the pocket, they can't work that day, they've downed their tools to go wherever. And to be fair, they don't know if they're coming back from that.
Yes.
That's the thing, they may not be coming back home that night, so they've got their wife, their kids, whoever it may be, all sitting worried, So that's exactly it.
Okay, now, if you've got your world as a football fan, when did the world as a politician, when did that all kick off? Where does the politics come into it? When did you jump? Why did you get involved? What time, and what's your kind of background that brought you to today?
Yeah, well, I'm just, I suppose I'm not doing anything that no one else can do, and there is a lot of voices out there, and there's a stronger movement, I feel like. I guess I'm a civil servant by trade, I feel like. Right. I'm working with these guys now, trying to do a lot of social enterprise and stuff like that, so I've always been involved with councillors and whatnot. I've got a bit of political background in that sense. Right. But I'm also just doing this because someone has to. I know, again, that might sound a bit kind of deep and whatnot, but somebody has to. And for a lot of these people, they'll just bury their heads. A lot of people, especially, I keep saying the younger ones, but it's just too easy maybe to plead guilty, accept it, and that is it. So they need, if they've got a kind of a focal point where they can go to, whether it's somebody, an individual, whether it's an organisation like Fans Against Criminilisation, FAC, or any of the trusts and the organisations that make that up, you need to approach these people. They will meet myself, them, they will offer the support. Right. And help you fight it. That's where I'm coming from on this, Right. And it's not. I've not nothing personal against the Scottish Government. It's just they've just enforced this. It's not to say don't meddle with football. It was in the back of a game, essentially.
Yes. Now let's talk about that, because there can be listeners here in Australia and America and everywhere that some have not even actually been to Scotland. Never mind being able to actually be to Celtic Park and see the boys, but they watch them from afar and they see all the guys on Twitter and they're mentioning FAC, mentioning Axe the Act, and then Thomas Rannachan. What the hell's going on? What's happened? How did it all come about?
Well, basically there was a game, a Celtic Rangers match, and resulted in 3 players getting sent off. It's a derby game. It's nothing unlike when you look at Barcelona versus Madrid, or in Brazil, stuff like that. Manchester derby or Manchester Liverpool, stuff like that. Nothing, and they're obviously going to be heated affairs because they're passionate. There's a lot at stake. You want to win.
Sure.
So a couple of players got sent off. There was some scuffles and whatnot. But again, there was no riot, and then the next morning it was done and dusted.
Yes.
But this was labelled the shame game. It was all over the tabloids, it was in the media, it was absolutely everywhere. And then some bright spark, and the Scottish Government, who are now in control, who have that majority, thought we need to address this and rush through this crazy bill. I mean, literally rushed it through. They made sure on the going through if you follow the process, they made sure it was mostly their own people that were on the committees and stuff like that, so they could always vote it through. It doesn't matter who's objecting.
Right.
If you've got 9 men in a committee and there's 5 of them are for it's going through. So that's been pushed through. Before this, even on the day of that game and anything that happened, any trouble or whatever, we were getting charged for a breach of the peace with the police. It works perfectly well. I've spoken with police officers. I know a few police officers personally.
Right.
It's a coverall, and it does really well. And the best of it is the guy who gets done for the breach of the peace or whatever it may be, he knows why and he understands it. He might not agree with it, but he understands it. Right, fair dues or whatever. This has come in now. Police officers don't know how to use it properly. It's almost as if they've just been given free rein to throw as many charges as they can at the property fiscal and see what sticks. The thing with this as well now is it only takes one officer to be convinced, to accuse you of doing something that's inciting hatred or violence, not 2 officers or whatever else, just the one, and that's an issue in itself as well. So it's all stemmed from this game, but if they just waited a day or two, the dust just completely settled. There was nothing at all. And the game in question, Celtic Rangers, that is a money spinner for Glasgow. Pubs, restaurants, clubs, everywhere, the shops, they love that. They absolutely love it, because you've got 60,000 people conversion in the stadium itself, not people just visit the city just to get caught in a good pub. It makes money. Anywhere else in the world, they promote these types of matches. I remember when Manchester City became what they are now, and it was the first big derby with Man United. You couldn't look at an advert without Sky advertising it. Glasgow seems to be an exception to that, and we don't know why it's wrong. And this is where it stemmed from. And so there's all these organisations now, these groups will keep fighting it because it's criminalising fans. You go to your match, you don't know if you're coming back. That is the worry. Officers are allowed to video your kids going into stadiums now, search them if they want. That's a police state, that's like they expect that in maybe a communist country or something like that, in the dark ages, not in Glasgow in the west of Scotland, remember, or Europe and all the rest of it. That's just, it doesn't fit in. We know what social justice is in a place like Glasgow. We're standing in Govan now, we've got a fair idea of what social justice is. This is not it. Simple as that,
You're seeing those instances of multiple video cameras, thousands, an area of hundreds of fans, and yet there seems to be a real heavy police presence all round about them, all photographed. Should that be in today's football? Is it something that we're justified in seeing?
Well, that's the thing. No, it's just, it shouldn't be. It's not. Football's an outlet. It's a pastime. For a lot of people, it's like the working class pastime. I know things are changing since way back, but it should be there to enjoy. A lot of people, it's the release from their the work 9 till 5, whatever they do. That's the release. They don't want to see heavy-handed tactics by the police. They don't want to be scared, or their children to be scared because they see 50 officers standing at a particular section. I said, with all the camera, all the audio-visual equipment, monitoring, checking everything, you feel like a criminal even just going there. That's, you want to. We just want to enjoy the game. You don't want that, and it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be a factor. It shouldn't be something. It shouldn't be the norm. It should not be the norm. There's every ground and every stadium has stewarding. They do a good job. and officers when needed, as and when needed. And that's very few. When they very rarely need to get involved in anything. These days, especially all stadiums are seated as well now.
Yes.
So you're there, you're in your sections and you sing and you have a laugh and you celebrate goals. That's it. That's the way it should be.
That sounds fair to me. So for this localised issue, what's the campaign? What we're trying to do? What we're trying to achieve? What's the hopes?
Yeah, what we're looking to do just now is we're raise more awareness.
Right.
The bill is in. It's still in. It's been in over maybe about 18 months now. We want to raise awareness against it. Let the Scottish Government know we're not going away. We're still fighting it. We want to show as many people as we possibly can. Get as many people as we possibly can to offer their support as well, which has been great. The support we've been getting has been absolutely fantastic. If we can perhaps, we know this is a protest vote. Don't get me wrong, it's a protest vote. The more votes we can take from the Scottish Government, that's where it hits people. That's where it hits political parties.
Right.
Particularly, this is Nicola Sturgeon's backyard. She's the Deputy Prime Minister, Deputy Leader of the Scottish Government. So if she doesn't have a councillor in her own ward now, if we achieve that aim, at least, that the SNP don't get in this seat because they don't have any of the other 3 seats in this ward.
Right. That's
a clear message, and it won't stop there. People say the voting's on Thursday, the 10th of October.
Right.
The big day.
I was going to do that next.
Yeah, people say so. It's a big day, so it's the big one, the important one, and it is right. And again, I'm not going to get dead deep here, but I think the most important day is the 11th of October because you need to keep it going. That's the thing. It can't just fade, it can't stop then.
Alright, okay.
It still has to keep going. Hopefully on the 10th that will just show that people have spoken at the polls. It's the voters, it's the electorate, all from a community in which the government are supposed to be serving, not persecuting. So that's the message, that will send that home. And then on the Friday, you just need to ramp it up and just keep it going. To me, that's the more important day because that's when the Twitter feeds can slow down and the Facebook messages and the leafleting and stuff. That's what just has to keep that impetus going,
Right, gotcha. So the local guys, the local listeners in this area who can vote, who apply for that, what's their focus? They've got the 10th coming up, that's the date in question, yeah?
Yep, the 10th of October, next Thursday, is polling day from 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
Excellent, good. And what's the routine? I think, is it 2 slips or something they have to do?
No, you've got there's like 13, 14 candidates.
Right.
So potentially you can vote in preference 1 to 14 if you want. We'd rather they didn't.
Right.
What we prefer they did is put a 1 beside my name, Thomas Rannachan.
Yep.
What I would say is that there's a lot of obviously Labour fans, there's a lot of nationalists and stuff like that as well.
Sure.
Who obviously want to support their own party. If that was the case, why not give me the first vote and then give your Labour your second preference?
Right.
Just do that instead. If I get knocked out of the voting, there's the different rounds of voting, the way the system works. If I get knocked out, if you're a Labour man and you've given him your second preference, he'll get my first vote anyway. So there's no such thing as a wasted vote.
Right.
So I'd say that to anyone listening: if you're showing up and you're wanting to vote, but you're still tied between your own party and this campaign, give me the 1 and them the 2,
right.
And you would get the 1 anyway if I get knocked out. And you're doing both. You're supporting your party, but you're also supporting the campaign.
Getting this advertised right.
Definitely.
Perfect. And then if we pull bigger than that, the guys out with this area, what can a normal fan do? A normal Celtic fan, a normal Scottish football fan? What should they keep watching or keep getting involved with? Is there certain areas?
Yeah, certainly. If they always still keep checking Twitter, for the FAC account, for myself, Thomas Rannachan account, Govan account, Facebook pages as well, just to see what's going on and stuff like that. But I would encourage them, if they're at a game, if they're at the pub or on the way to a game, don't need to be in a stadium anymore. On a match day, if they see anything untoward that they think is a bit heavy-handed, record it, take a note of it, let us know, let someone know so that we can action that. If anyone is caught up in the bill and charged, please let us know. We'll offer you support, we'll offer you legal guidance, whatever we can do.
Right.
That'll be there as well. And something I do like to regularly encourage people to do is write to your councillor or write to your MP or your MSP. Write to them if you oppose this bill. I've mentioned if you see something, so let us know if something untoward and let them know as well, because unless people keep doing that to highlight, we gather evidence all the time, let them gather their own evidence as well, because it will speak. That's the thing. It's not it's not isolated. It'll tally up. If they keep your complaints and your objections and whatever it may be, that will start mounting up on their desks. I would encourage everyone to do that out with this ward today.
So that's a kind of powerful thing. You're going to keep keep that focus, keep the work coming in, and we're having to deal with this now, and it's kind of causing them headaches, if you like.
Well, at the end of the day, it is, that's it. So if we can do that, we've got a better chance of getting the bill reviewed at least, ideally repealed.
What's the deal with that? Because we heard a while ago, it's going to get reviewed in such and such, and then was it postponed? Was that put back for some reason?
It seems to be. I'll be honest, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but that's what we would hear. So that's why I keep going on about it. We do need it reviewed, to look at it, get the police round the table as well, and get the law, the legal professionals round there as well.
Right.
And just because it doesn't work. That's the thing.
Yes.
So get together, and there's a better chance of getting a review that way.
Right.
Personally, my own opinion, I have spoken to SNP voters. I've spoken to SNP political, people who work in the party rather.
Right.
I get the impression, I can't name names, I get the impression if they could maybe change it in their own terms, save face, they will.
Right.
They've got a leader, unfortunately, who won't say sorry and won't admit he's wrong.
Yes.
That's the issue. That is the issue there. But the people I've spoken with within the own SNP nationalists, they are saying that.
Right.
So it's not just a small group of fans. It's pretty widespread, to be honest.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's finish up with some practical advice. You spoke about helping young guys, helping 16 to 24 year olds who are a bit scared of what's going on and stuff. If you're a fan, if you're going to the stadium, any stadium at all, in Scotland today, and you've got this hanging over you, you've got focus teams, you've got video cameras, all sorts, what do they need to know? How do you... Because, for example, a fan might know, am I allowed to be photographed? You asked for gathering evidence. Can I video something? Am I allowed to take a photograph of a police officer? What's the ins and outs there? They should know from a practical level.
Certainly if it's yourself, or if it's it's like your buddy, you're going to the match and it's your buddy and you see him, whatever he's been searched for or spoken to, or whatever it may be, or if he's getting charged himself.
Right.
If you want to film that,
right. Do you have to say anything? Do you have to explain to the officer, I'm filming for such and such?
You can if they ask. Yeah.
Right,
the only thing I would say is police officers don't like it, and I understand why if you're behind them. So go to the side.
Right, okay.
Try and keep maybe a couple of metres, but go to the side, go in front of them.
Right.
Just don't get in their way. But if you're behind that, keep it classed as intimidated behaviour.
Good man.
Which is again understand. So just you keep your distance. Make sure you want to keep a reasonable distance so that you can get everything in.
Sure.
And if you're filming, if you're photoing,
Sure.
Ask for the officer's name, get their number on their lapel.
Right.
What station have they been taken to?
So that's important as well. So it's the number and the state. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. If it's your buddy, you want to know where he's been held.
Yep.
Ask them what's been charged with. So is it under this act? So what's the section of the law that he's been charged with, and why?
Right.
Was he inciting hatred? Did he, wave a flag?
Specific song or that kind of thing? Right. Okay.
Get these details.
Okay.
And then you can get them to yourselves. There's like called bust cards going around Celtic Park. They'll be around lots of grounds. I've got maybe legal numbers on there, certain laws, things that you can do and can't do. Get a hold of one of them, or contact FAC and you'll get one to you. And it's a good wee Bible to have. It keeps you right.
Brilliant.
But let people know. Let people know. See, you can't actively get involved with the police and whatnot. You'll get dragged into it as well. Just keep a wee bit of distance. Make sure you can see everything that's going on, and let that guy know that because that boy's getting lifted. He's away. Try and reassure him as best you can.
Right. Okay. And the guy who's getting approached, if the fans get approached, they asked, "I want to look inside your bag. I want to know your name and address. I want to know such." What's the detail there?
Yeah.
What they're allowed to answer or not answer or whatever.
Well, what I would always do in that instance is ask them why first of all.
Right.
And ask them, is there a particular under what article of the law are they asking to search you?
Right.
If they can't quote it, then you don't need to do it.
Right. Okay.
If they ask you and you volunteer, well, you've did it. Always ask why. If I did something, they need to ask in a very calm and civil manner.
Of course.
And that's it. That's all you need to do.
Right. Do you give your details? Should you always give your name and address to a police officer? Does that work? Do we know?
I'm not too clear on that. I think they're photographing you and stuff like that anyway.
Right,
so
right. And they're allowed to do that as well.
And they can, unfortunately, they can photograph and video you anyway. So if they ask your name and your address, then just give them it. Right. They may or may not check it right there and then.
Sure.
But I suppose it's up to your call. But again, always ask, well, why? Why are you asking?
That's a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. Every time.
Excellent. Well, thanks a million for talking to us. Really appreciate the information and best of luck with the campaign.
Thanks, appreciate that. Thanks
Cheers.
very much. All right.
The thing I want to see the most is the Glasgow Celtic score.
I've been to Munich, been to Paris and Berlin. I watched injustice fall upon you in Turin, and I've shared the pain and glory with the friends that I have made as I dance from place to place in green and white on a worldwide tin parade.